Do you yearn for travel that involves outdoor adventure and learning? I do. I also have a passion for all things farming and agriculture. I've traveled to exotic jungles to learn about growing chocolate, and I even owned my own organic vegetable and sunflower farm. And now I'm planning my journey back to agriculture. Agritourism, defined as travel that involves some type of agricultural experience. Agritourism is all about entertaining, but the marketing strategist in me knows that, at its core, agritourism is really about educating, and education affects change. My future farm needs to deliver a profound experience to all of its visitors. It needs to educate people about food, health, and climate. Join me to learn from experienced agritourism farmers and entrepreneurs and help me build my future farm strategy. And who knows, maybe one day soon you'll find yourself in a tropical jungle cutting open cacao pods with a machete, or savoring an outdoor plant-to-plate community dinner with 100 guests at a farm in Vermont. So let's tap into the agritourist in you. Hey everyone. This is a special episode for many reasons. We hit 70 episodes last week, and I can't believe how fast 70 episodes went by. 70 weeks of my life and yours. For this episode, we will be highlighting, very briefly, the top 3 most listened to podcasts. And what do I mean by highlighting them? I am pulling out some of the most meaningful sections, the part of the conversation that left an impact on me, and hopefully left an impact on you too. But I am also using this time to say a few words about going forward. I value each and every person who has taken the time out of their lives to listen to these conversations. That truly means the world to me, as I truly value the time that my podcast guests took out of their lives to spend some time with me and talk to me about all that they do, and also open up to me about their personal stories. It's come time to pause, evaluate, and take in everything that I learned. Not a permanent pause, but an interruption and change to the normal schedule going forward. As a marketer, consistency is critical. So yes, I am breaking one of my very own marketing rules. But sometimes rules just need to be broken. I will be doing pop-up podcasts on an irregular basis. There are some that are already planned for the near future that will take place. But for many reasons, I decided it was best to pause the weekly Monday podcasts and mix it up just a bit. So why am I taking this pause? My youngest daughter just started college, and for those who have experienced this, I know that I don't need to say another word. I know you deeply understand. And for those who haven't yet or have not experienced this at all, it's definitely a pivotal time of reflection and change. A time of questioning a lot of things, and a time of new beginnings, all of which are very frightening and super exciting all at the same time. The last 70 weeks of inspiring conversations have somewhat prepared me for these next steps, for these changes. So I thank every person who entered my life for the last 70 weeks. Every one of you came into my life for a reason, and I value each and every one of you. And most importantly, for your own health, for the health and well-being of our local farmers, and for the well-being of our earth, please make every effort to shop your local farms. Without further ado, there are 3 podcasts that you listen to the most, and I found it interesting that one was a farmer and author, one focuses on a farm sanctuary and the impact of eating plant-based, and the third is all about sustainability, chocolate, and coffee. Each one also focuses on agritourism in very unique ways. This is Jen Ross, your Agritourist podcast host. Thank you for listening, and hopefully you will stick around for what's to come in the future. It's Jen Ross, your Agritourist podcast host. My former organic vegetable and sunflower farm had a few revenue channels. The one channel that probably required the most labor were the numerous farmers markets. It was so exciting to make a new connection and add a new market, especially with our mobile farm stand truck. And being a marketer at heart, creating new connections was my favorite part. However, I recall the anticipation of market days. Waking up super early to harvest, clean, prep, pack the truck, drive to the destination, move all the produce and sunflowers out of the truck to the market destination, set up the market, sell and connect with customers, pack up all the stuff that wasn't sold, head back to the farm, unpack, sort everything out for donation, sale, or compost, and then think about what we needed to prep for the next day. I really didn't mind the work at all. I actually enjoyed it. But was it worth the revenue it was bringing in, or could my time be used more wisely and economically? The answer was yes, and Megan Neubauer describes it perfectly in her book, Pick Your Own Farming, Free Yourself from Farmers Markets and Join the Agritourism Revolution. Let's jump right in and learn why agritourism became a no-brainer for her farm and transitioned her to a very profitable Texas farm. I liked what you said. What we actually set out to do was make a living growing food. And I still believe that's the critical foundation upon which other good things become possible. Agritourism made Pure Land Farm profitable, yes, but while the dollars we earn only benefit us, agritourism helps all farmers by raising awareness of regenerative local farming, making personal connections between the public and the agriculture community, and fostering intentional consumers. I thought those sentences were amazing. So I think you really captured it there. I don't know if you just want to say anything about what you wrote. I mean, you captured it well here, but
I think that that's going to be our legacy. And I think that's the biggest impact that we can make, is that we're reaching so many just regular people and just sprinkling local agriculture into their lives, right? Like there aren't, my regulars are one thing, but for the vast majority of our visitors, it's an unusual thing for them to do. It's a very small part of their lives.
And then there is a desperate need for more small farmers to regeneratively restore our lands and build robust local food systems. And there are many eager hopefuls who would love to pursue it as a career, but we cannot continue pretending the current model is working, which says a lot. Your book, has a very clear message about that. And I think you're brave to go out there and say that, because they are, farmers markets, like you said, are not working.
I don't understand how anybody makes money. And I don't feel like we should, as farmers, have to eat that we get to be outside and we get to work our butts off and we can barely pay our bills. Like, it's just that I have a visceral reaction against that after many years of working my butt off and not taking any money home. This has been, I mean, we're at there's no roles, right? Like, we're not rich from doing this, but it pays. It actually pays. Like, we can actually take money home and be comfortable. And I'm the only farmer that I know in that position. And I know how hard farmers work. Like, we have been there. I could name a dozen farmers I know who are like, I don't know why I'm still doing this. And our farmers markets were a revolving door and especially like the people in their late 20s and their 30s, like, we're never going to make it, right? At the farmers market. And I don't know what they're doing now, but I'm hopeful that more farmers being able to actually make some money will keep more people farming and get more people into farming.
Yep, exactly. One of the other things you wrote, a final word, it's easy to feel very small and overwhelmed working outside under the great wide Texas sky, but never underestimate the impact you have as a person that cares for a patch of earth. The opportunity to steward a piece of land, however big or small, is an awesome gift and responsibility. Our earth, we need more people doing this. And I even say to people, garden, learn how to garden, take the time, grow a few things. Doesn't have to be a farm, it doesn't have to be a huge garden. Take a small plot in your backyard and learn how to grow some things.
Go to your botanic garden, go to your local sanctuary, go to your wildlife place, go just be outside and appreciate the beautiful, incredible, awesome world that we have that is rapidly changing, right? And something I think about agritourism is that the more people that we get to care, the more we are building a base of advocacy for the kinds of policies that support more local agriculture, that support, the policies and legislation that will help more people be able to actually farm sustainably, right? And regeneratively. And the big farms, right? The big ag farms that we need to transition to regen, that the system is not built for them to, it's a big ship. It's hard to turn. But I think that we can build this consumer demand by reaching people the way that we do on our farm, one by one, in a personal, face-to-face way, right? Human to human, having this shared experience together outside.
Hey, it's Jen, your AgriTourist podcast host. I need to interrupt this podcast for a few seconds. I always want to support the people I interview. So if you're planning on visiting the Berkshires, Dory Schofield, owner of Berkshire Farm Sanctuary and Save a Pet on Long Island, and myself have partnered up to help her create an Agra destination at her sanctuary. We are starting small with chocolate cocktail hours for all of you chocolate lovers out there. You'll start with a chocolate mocktail or a cocktail and indulge in some delicious charcuterie, plant-based of course. Then you will be guided through a chocolate experience and learn how chocolate is made from bean to bar. Savor the tastes of real chocolate from all around the world and depart the farmhouse with some of your favorite chocolate bars in hand. Proceeds support all of Dory's rescued animals at the sanctuary. There are 2 dates left, September 20th and October 4th, so visit berkshirefarmsanctuary.org or heartbeatfarms.com to register now. Thank you for listening, and I will hand you back over to the podcast. Emma and John are two amazing people. They are smart, business-minded, and genuinely committed to their mission. I really fell in love with their story and their mission. They own a farm sanctuary in Florida, just going on 5 years now. Before selling their house and moving from city life in Minneapolis, they took the time to volunteer at a local farm sanctuary to ensure that this is something they really wanted to commit to. As owning a farm sanctuary or any type of animal rescue is an everyday, all hours of the day commitment. The answer was a definitive yes from both of them, and they set out to find the perfect property in a warmer climate. They found a beautiful 30-acre property close to the University of Florida with a unique setting for farm animals and tourists alike, including natural springs, which I found to be pretty amazing on a property in Florida. However, there is a more significant underlying mission that these beautiful farm animals are just a part of. That mission is to create awareness around where our food is coming from, how it is being produced, and encouraging people to enjoy a more plant-based lifestyle. This is what will ultimately save these animals. Farm sanctuaries represent a super small percentage of the lives saved, but Emma and John want people to understand that every one of us can save a farm animal's life without having to own a farm sanctuary. All we have to do is modify how and what we consume each and every day. That's all it takes. Join me, your AgriTourist podcast host, Jen Ross, to hear more about Emma and John's compelling and truly inspirational story. So what sold you on this piece of property? I'm sure you looked around, and what was it about this piece of property?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I was on Zillow every second, stressing myself out, being like, is this one the right place? Is this? And we actually were on a trip down to this area to see a property. And we were, we had flown down from Minnesota. We were driving to it. And the realtor called and said, sorry to let you know, it just sold. And so I'm like, oh my gosh, it just sold. Like, what are we going to do? This trip was a waste. We, wasted all this money to come down here. And then we pulled up Zillow, and Emma actually saw this place, and it looks a little funky, a little quirky. It's inside, it's sort of like a modern cabin. It's all what now it's like perfect. I won't want to be anywhere else in the world. But at the time, you're sort of throwing a dart at the map, and you're like, I don't know, what is Gainesville, Florida? Like, what sort of area are we in? But we got so lucky, and we fell in love. One of the really cool things is the previous owner, his wife was a master gardener. Nice. So there's like beautiful, landscaping everywhere. And so the animals, it's a really cool combination of just beauty. And then it really does live up to its name, Peacefield. It's very peaceful, serene, and we have about 50 animals now, which seems crazy. And we're like about a week away from our 5-year anniversary of rolling in the gate for the first
Congratulations. That's
time.
amazing. So when
Thank
you
you.
reflect on the
Yeah.
5 years, what do you think? How do you reflect on
Yeah.
it on this anniversary?
The first year almost killed us. I was gonna pack my bags and go back to Minnesota. I was homesick and was like,
We were having
what did we sign up for?
Yeah, having dinner at midnight, being like, what just happened today? Uh, eh, our first rescue, Toby, he's a potbelly pig. His first night he escaped. We go out to the field. There's no Toby. We're like, we're such failures. We started this whole thing, and our first night we lost our first rescue. We did. We got Toby back. He was fine.
He's still here.
He's still here. And then, we had been from Minnesota. And so, we have our winters there that you have to get through. And then in Florida, you have your summers that you need to get through where it's 100 degrees. It's very warm. And so just learning the seasons, the animals, our routine, also like working together every day and just getting into a pattern. And then we've also been hugely helped by sanctuaries that are around us.
And I know you had said in that video, Peacefield is a place for animals, but it is a place for humans as well. And you want to just expand on that for a sec?
Well, I think that, a lot of times vegans sort of get a bad rap because people will say, what about this suffering of this group of people or that, like we have bigger problems. Like, why are you worried about this? And I think there's a few different levels to that. One, I think if we could get everybody to see the value and the individuality of a chicken, I think that would solve basically all the other problems we have in the world. If we can see the dignity again in the least of these, I think we would for sure be able to see that in each other. So that's sort of one level of it. But then the other one is, as humans, we're animals as well. And we have crazy lives and things to deal with and, have been abused or have, whatever. And so we also need a place just to come and be healthy and breathe clean air and, have a sense of freedom and acceptance and get the things that we need. And so hopefully Peacefield feels like that for people that were here. It was a coincidence. But when we first moved here, before we had much of it set up, one of the truck drivers that delivered some furniture from Minnesota for us, he came in and he was an older guy and he was definitely overweight and he sort of braced himself as he got out of the truck and was holding himself just to stand up because he probably sits in a truck all day. And he kind of looked around and he goes, wow, it's so peaceful here. And then just like, it was like so crazy that he was really our first visitor. And that was the first thing that he said. And so really having a place for people just to kind of stop and to get out of, I don't know, the matrix or normal life or whatever you want to call it, but have that place of peace as well. And we realize that, we live here every day. And so we're very lucky and we can sometimes take it for granted because we'll have people that come from very nice places that are just like in awe of, again, having a little space, having clean air, having happy animals. It does something for people. And we feel really lucky to be able to be here, but then also to share that with folks.
Excellent. So you have 50 animals. What is next? Are you at a good capacity right now? What's next for the sanctuary?
So this is a tricky area because usually sanctuaries are started by people, and I'm not trying to give us a compliment, but they're usually obviously started by people with big hearts that want to help. And so one of the pitfalls can be that you just get in over your head very quickly. Because when we first started Peacefield, I was, we had Toby and I was like, I don't know where we're going to get more animals from, but we'll see what happens. And once the word is out there, we get a call almost every other day, I'm sorry to say, of somebody with a need to place an animal. And we do the best that we can. If we can't take them, we'll try to, network with other, and that's where social media is amazing and has been a huge benefit, is because we're able to connect with so many sanctuaries of like, hey, we're maxed out on roosters, but we can take hens. If you know anybody that needs hens, let us know, but could you take these roosters, etc. And so that's been super helpful. But we've realized, so even though it looks like a sanctuary's job is to save animals, our real job is to get people to go vegan. And that's sort of, we trick people to come here with the Airbnb, with yoga, with having cool stuff, tours, cooking events, but it's really to get people to go vegan. And the reason is that, it's trying to basically mop up the floor while the faucet's still turned on. You can't do both at the same time. We would be full in a day for just, a couple hours worth of the animals that it would be consumed in a Chick-fil-A, drive-through for a few, like it's just the amount is unthinkable. And so we tell people that'll come here and they'll say, oh my gosh, this is so amazing. You've rescued these 50 animals. You guys are heroes, blah, 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 whatever. Again, very nice. Thank you. Appreciative. However, we'll tell them you have much more control than we do. You personally can save we've saved 50 here. That's amazing. You personally will save thousands of animals if you can kind of go in a more plant-based direction over your life and do something way bigger than we ever could here. And so knowing it, being able to help people realize they're so empowered. This is one of the things where, sometimes things are happening across the world and we feel like they're out of control or they're out of our power, but we want to help make change. This is one of the things that we are in 1,000% control. And, every time we go to the grocery store or sit down to eat, we can sort of dictate the kind of world that we want to create and have an immediate impact, like right away. And so that's a long answer to your question. So at about 50 animals right now, we feel that we're pretty good. There are some areas where, if we got a call today for some hens, we've got some room for hens. Pigs we're sort of maxed out on. We could definitely take a few more sheep. And so it depends on the species. But one of the things that we need to be cognizant of is, one, not getting in over our head, because the sad fact is most farm sanctuaries end up closing, which is very sad. And we just want to be as sustainable as we can. And then also just help people realize that they're also in control of, what happens to animals just as much as we are.
Yep. I liked one of the things you said on that video. Again, once we know better, do better. That was very impactful.
Yeah. And that's, it's tricky because, again, I think we're most of us are animal lovers at heart. And so it's in us. And we almost don't want to know better, like we'll tell people, oh my gosh, did you know this statistic? Or did you know what happens to baby chicks? Or, whatever. And they're like, don't tell me, or I don't want to see it. Because we know, there's no way that, all of this just works and everybody's happy and healthy and, it's painless and all that stuff. And so, but yeah, it's sort of, one of again, before we were vegan, I just one day saw a video. It was a happy video of a pig running around on a field. There was a pig that had been rescued and she was let outside for the first time where she could touch grass. And she was jumping around like my dogs. And I'm like, what?
Judy the pig, I think.
Well, Judy was our dog. Yeah. And then I think this pig in the video was called Freedom. So if you look at, if you
and then Wilbur.
And then, we have Wilbur who did that same sort of jumping around when he came here.
Which was an amazing sight. I mean, that tapped at my heart. I was just like, that freedom. I am your agri-tourist host, Jen Ross. When I was actively running Heartbeat Farms a few years ago, I wanted to create a farm box during the winter months when we were not farming. The box contained local honey, locally sourced and made popcorn, and given my passion for chocolate and traveling to learn all about where chocolate comes from, I definitely wanted to add a special chocolate bar. I grabbed my youngest, Abby, and we went to a New York City chocolate show where we tasted lots and lots of chocolate bars. And I love chocolate, but Abby and I definitely had our fills that particular day. We were on a mission to not only find a unique chocolate bar, but to find a company with a compelling mission. Booth after chocolate booth, we tasted several bars. And then we tasted the lemon ginger bar from Mocha Origins out of Honesdale, Pennsylvania. This was the bar we had been searching for. And little did we know, this was the company we had been searching for too. Mark Larson was representing Mocha that day, and he still works for the company. Mark let us taste some more chocolate bars and told us about the company's mission. How they have a cacao farm in Cameroon, Africa, focused on farmer training. How for each bar sold, a new cacao tree is planted. How they are working towards making cacao and coffee a sustainable income for farmers around the world. They understood the importance of organic. I was completely sold. and Abby and I were happy not to have to taste another chocolate bar that day. It was now time to purchase some chocolate for our winter farm boxes, so instead of ordering online or via phone, I visited the Mocha Origins chocolate factory in Honesdale, Pennsylvania on the Himalayan Institute campus. I wanted to pick up my order in person and make a connection to the people that were behind this amazing company. That's when I met one of the founders, Jeff Abella, an inspirational social entrepreneur who was building his company from the ground up, one chocolate bar and bag of coffee at a time. I fell in love with the company, the people, and the mission, and have been a huge fan and supporter ever since. I have had the fortune to watch the company carefully expand, take risks, take on new staff, and introduce new agritourism adventures in origins they source cacao and coffee from. I am so lucky to have connected with this company and Jeff, and I get to share that connection with you today. I hope you enjoy my conversation with Jeff Abella, CEO and co-founder of Mocha Origins. Enjoy. So then what brought you to the Himalayan Institute? Or how did you connect? How was that connection
it's
made?
such a wild kind of story, but we were doing a recording session for an author who did a book on tape. It was actually a CD at that point. I'm not that, I don't want to put that date on me, but it was a book on
It's
CD.
okay.
Now it's like, everything's digital, but the content was about yoga, meditation, wellness, just like life scope, and really spoke to me. It was one of those sessions where I found myself getting lost in the subject matter. And at that point I had, I was early 20s at best, started a few business on the side. I was always dealing, whether it was, cutting people's lawns or typically working 2 to 3 jobs. So that business, that energy to add value and create was there. But for the first time, I was hearing more about internalizing that passion and more personal development, how to become stronger as an individual, how to have more self-awareness and ultimately be able to sustain that energy and drive long term by having a solid foundation. And so that author relates back to the Himalayan Institute, which is where I heard about the Himalayan Institute through. And within a few years, my wife, Chelsea, and I were kind of liquidating everything we had in Wisconsin and moved to the Himalayan Institute to work for their not-for-profit in Cameroon, actually.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a big
So
move.
it was a big jump. I mean, naturally, I was like,
What was
well,
going on in your mind at that time? I mean,
I remember feeling like this is the time to do something extreme. I love what I'm doing professionally, but I'm also kind of like spiritually bankrupt. Don't have a lot of sense of purpose at the end of the day, and this is the time to really just drive into something that is gonna fulfill me longer term and help those around me. And that's what I wanted to bring together. This passion for business and this passion for community development and personal upliftment. So the Himalayan Institute was launching a program in Cameroon. It had already for about 3 decades been successfully operating some not-for-profits in South India, and they were invited to bring that model into West Africa. And they were looking for people that had business backgrounds interested in just really joining that startup team. And I just could not be looking for a better opportunity. It was like right at knocking on the door. And so, I did what any sane person would do. We sold everything and moved to Cameroon. And we committed for like a year at that point and just really fell in love with the region, the people, the culture. And then that's where travel started to creep in. And that's where like cultural immersion and just exposure to the broader world really resonated with me and has a deep place in my heart now. But that was the first point of exposure. I was 21, I turned 22 in Cameroon, committed for a year, then a decade. I was asked to be country director for that program. I still sit on their board today. We do a lot of great work in education and healthcare in cocoa and coffee growing communities. But at that time, nothing related to cocoa or coffee. It was all about the not-for-profit work that we were doing within the community. And why I like that organization above many that I had researched was their approach is very different. It's not a traditional aid model where it's maybe Western funders dumping aid and their ideology on a community. It's creating a team fully of local organizations and thought leaders and local leaders to do needs assessment. And our organization was like a resource partner to really organize those businesses and help them drive them forward. And so that really sat with me. One thing that really stood out, though, as we were living in this beautiful town called Kumbo, was how much cocoa and coffee is grown in Cameroon, and how while our work is really important, education and health, one of the underlining needs and desires was economic upliftment in these communities. And so we started a health program actually that was manufacturing medicinal herbs into like supplements and vitamins. It's a really cool manufacturing business we started over there to do that. And we needed cooperatives and farmers essentially to participate in the cultivation. It was a really nice program, actually. It created a lot of agricultural employment, and then our local manufacturers turned it into something that our local health professionals were utilizing in the field. We called it farm to pharmacy, or at least in my mind, I looked at it that way. But one thing that stood out and kind of confused me was why were so many coffee farmers eager to participate? And it just got me wondering and kind of learning about coffee. What is coffee? I drink it, billions of consumers around the world drink coffee every single day.
We don't think about where things come from.
Yeah. Yeah. And it just sparked this discovery process of wanting to know more about but really about the why behind these farmers' eagerness to diversify away from coffee. The same story goes for cocoa. And as naive as I was in my 20s, asking like, wow, you're a coffee farmer. Like that's amazing. You must be passionate about coffee. Like, no, coffee and cocoa are two crops that for generations, farmers and families cultivate. And this is speaking in Cameroon. I don't want to speak too generally here, but what I was realizing was, these are two staple crops that provide school fees. They support health bills and medical bills. They pay for food. It's a economic driver, and that's really what it's all about. And so when I realized that there was such a desire to diversify away from coffee or into other crops as well. For our instance, it was the medicinal herbs. We really started to just get clear on the economic model. And, this was a kind of a 3-year research project to understand why, how do you go from this bean that farmers are earning, a few cents for, and then there's this cup of coffee and it's $4, $5, $6. Like, what is that process? I just didn't know. And I really jumped in with both feet. I was bringing samples of coffee back, literally smuggling them back in my bag, sending them to other roasters, laboratories. This was all out of pocket, just trying to understand, what is this green bean, this green coffee, and how do you transform it into this beverage? And throughout that value addition step, what are the economics of all of that? And through that, just really got passionate about small batch roasting. Never departed from the passion of working on the farm side. So what we started was Mocha Origins. This is in 2015. It's a community farming project that really works with farmers, both coffee and cocoa, in a very hands-on way. So our team of agronomists support just increasing output of production while decreasing costs, as well as increasing quality, so they can hit a premium or a specialty benchmark. In coffee, it's specialty market. In cocoa, it's usually fine flavor or specialty as well. But if they could hit that grade, there's more value on the on the commodity side. And so when we started Mocha in 2015 there, it was a really exciting moment for us because it was my first active agricultural project where that was the primary focus. And the reason I was so excited about it was because just farming in general is such an important part of livelihood in these regions. And it was something that I felt could be a scalable approach. And with quality as the lever, also realizing that it's something that could plug into the market. And if consumers are willing to or are able to understand the differences in quality, and if there's value around that, well, that could be the leverage needed to be able to buy fair trade beans or pay premiums and do other social investments on the farm side if we could produce a product of higher quality. So that's kind of that's like a 15-year story there.
When you reflect back, I mean, it's been an interesting road to where you are now. I just, what are some of the key messages, the key learnings, you're called a social entrepreneur. What is that? That carries some weight to it. So what does that all mean to you? Like what advice would you give someone else who's thinking about doing something like this, especially some of our younger generation who's coming up? And, there's a lot you've done, and you've had an amazing experience thus far. So what do you, what do you want to say about all that?
I think three things come to mind. That's such a big question. Like I wish we had a whole hour and to give a little keynote on that. Like I love this topic. So you have time boxed me here, but three things really come to mind. And these are from my own experience. I'd say the first one is being very, very clear on the why. And not the economic version of that. Like financial performance is important. I'm talking about the purpose behind it. For me, if we didn't have a passion for working with the farming communities that we knew and loved and wanted to focus our energy partnering with, I would have gave up a long time ago. And I mean, a lot of late nights, late years worth of them. Entrepreneurship is lonely. You're tribe of one and you have an idea and it's crazy. And then you maybe have a partner and then, you 5 people believe in you and, you slowly kind of build a network of people you can even like at first though, it's who do you even talk to? And are people even open to giving you advice? And you're still conceptualizing it. The financial aspect is daunting. The physical aspect, it depends on your business, of course, but I'm just saying there's a lot of challenges. And if the only motivation is money, there's a lot more comfortable ways to earn a livelihood in this lifetime. And I'm not even saying that social entrepreneurship or just starting a chocolate factory is one of them. That's probably not even on that list. But I guess what I'm saying is having a clear sense of why you're doing it and hoping that that's rooted in something that's truly a passion to you. If you would spend your time doing something for no compensation, if money wasn't even a factor, just imagine you didn't need to earn an income. What would you be doing with your time? For me, it was working with farming communities to try to create a more sustainable source, a more sustainable supply chain. And so with that why, I was very clear on it, and it's really helped me get over a lot of hard times in the startup world. And so that's the main thing, being clear on your purpose and being passionate enough about it to fuel you through when nothing else is there for you. You're probably not paying yourself. You might not have a mentor. You might be a team of one, but believe in yourself and believe in that purpose. And a lot of amazing things can come from that. So that's probably the first thing. Yep. The second thing is having patience too. And I'm not a patient person. I like to have an idea and then it's like, okay, I'm going to drop everything and just start executing on that. And that's not necessarily a great quality. I'm just pointing it out in myself. I tend to, I have a lot of ambition, but you also need to have a lot of patience. It takes time for a concept to mature. It takes time for your team to come together, for your finances to take shape. It's not an immediate gratification thing at all. And just having more patience and appreciation for that process is really important. I think there's a lot of like there's a lot of like ways to, do things quick these days. And I think there's a lot of energy around like get rich quick, or like this is a shortcut to that. Starting a business, there's like it has to go through its maturity, its life cycle, and patience is important. If not, you'll probably not stick it out. And if your metrics you're not meeting your metrics, whatever those are, like then maybe there's a reason to depart from it, but don't be impatient. Don't depart from it prematurely. Have a time frame that's realistic. Yeah, and then I think the third one is grit as well, which is just having the drive to get out of bed, get motivated, go to your job, earn your income, and then come home, like eat the cheapest meal you can, get to work, and push until 1 or 2 a.m., then go to bed and do it all again. So having that grit, and maybe that's not the cycle of every entrepreneur's startup story. It sure was mine for several years, and having that energy and that desire to really push for it. I'm doing a podcast right now. Then I'm in a finance meeting, and then I'm doing deliveries today because my delivery person isn't available. I'm lifting boxes in the rain, like having enough of the appreciation for every part of the business and the grit to get it into the end zone.
I hope our AgriTourist podcast prompts you to think more about where your food comes from, whether it be your vegetables, fruits, meats, and even those sweet treats. Don't forget to subscribe and share this podcast with someone you think may truly benefit from or be inspired by it. Visit us at agra-tourist.com. Until next time.